Okay, so this is the setup for now. We're just gonna have to go with it. This bed is super squeaky. That's just not ideal. Didn't squeak at all then, brilliant. Not sponsored. Okay, so we're just all going to get right into it, really, because I don't know how to do these videos very well yet. So you just have to bear with me, and if you don't want to, then feel free to leave if you like. That would be really sad, but you know, do what you got to do. Rambling. So I wanted to get started again, procrastination, with this channel now that my exams are done and things are just sort of a bit stagnant at the moment and nothing is going on. Wow. So yeah, now all that hustle and bustle is over, I wanted to get started on this channel properly, and I've said this about 700 times. You guys wouldn't know that because this is the first one that you're seeing, so good, but struggle. But for me, within this time during lockdown, I definitely noticed like old habits and behaviours coming back for when I was in the midst of my eating disorder. If you guys haven't seen my previous videos, I had anorexia, and for me this time period was quite difficult because kind of life sort of stopped but it was still moving, sort of thing, and I almost didn't finish my masters, which I was getting really sad about, and just things like that, but I finished it, so it's fine. But yes, so if anything, it sort of highlighted to me what I need to be doing, or like just basically being like, fuck it, if I want to do it, let's do it. There is no point in leaving it off anymore. I've thought about this concept for like years, a very, very long time, but I was kind of umming and ahhing between it because I thought I wasn't in a position myself, both like mentally and physically, to be able to sort of project what I want to project. So I almost felt like a walking contradiction, just because of where I was at in regards to my eating disorder, and I just didn't feel like, I just felt a bit hypocritical. But then I was like, you know what, it actually might be a really good idea to do this whilst I'm sort of in this mindset that I can sort of be my own experiment and look at the science behind eating disorders and things like that, and apply that knowledge and see what we can come up with in order to present a better way of recovery or treatment for anorexia. So I should probably start with, I mean, the main reason why I'm here is to do with what I'm doing this for and what I want to achieve, and I just make this like my life goal, career, ambition, everything. It's to change the treatment that is currently available for people with anorexia specifically. It's quite difficult because other eating disorders will interlink with that. I'm nowhere near where I was before in regards to my eating disorder, thankfully. I'm able to sort of recognise behaviours and then be like, take them on board a lot more and correct them as I go. So if I find that I'm over exercising, granted not every day I do this, and this is something that I will talk about in a second, but I'm able to recognise things if they're taking over a bit too much, and to say, okay, Charlotte, you need to chill them out because we're not going down that road again. So it's a different mindset, but there are still habits that I'm clearly around me still, that could potentially influence my recovery. But in regards to what I just previously said, in terms of kind of mindset and relapse and things like that. I feel like, especially with social media these days, it's very, I feel like it's very easy to relapse. But also I just feel like there is still this sort of coat around, or this protection layer around anorexia, and just not being realistic about the whole thing. I feel like people sort of promote the fact of like, basically, not everyone, but like once you recover, that's it, and life is great and it's never going to happen again. In some respects that may be very true for some people, but I feel like a lot of what I see, people are sort of just hiding behind all that positivity, and not actually being realistic in regards to the kind of roller coaster relationship with anorexia and recovery. Because in all honesty, I have no problem in saying, you know, I'm not naive to the fact that I do genuinely believe that I will live with this for the rest of my life, but it's all about how much it controls my life. I'll always have that. Like, I just feel I'm confident in that, but my ability to sort of overpower it is what's important and what is relevant, and I feel like that is something that needs to be sort of projected out into recovery, because I feel like, I think sometimes people worry that, oh well, I'm not feeling like, you know, I'm, let's say, clinically diagnosed as recovered, whatever that may mean, so why aren't I feeling a particular way? And I feel like, yeah, we just sort of hide behind this facade that everything's fine once recovery is happening. And basically I just want to be as realistic as possible and say that it's actually okay. If you relapse, it's okay. It's about recognising behaviours and knowing what you can do to help yourself. So that's what I want to project. It's all about realism, and you know, we're doing that so much these days, which is great. But I feel like, again, this is just a topic area that I don't think is still, well, I still believe it's very underdeveloped, and it needs to be changed, because relapse is huge, and rehospitalisation, mortality, it's the highest mental health mortality, it has the highest mental health mortality rate recorded. So it's clearly something that needs to be changed. For me, I feel like it's going to be a very controversial channel, but you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like discussion is so key, and there may be things that you don't agree with that I say, and you know, vice versa. If I see anything in the comments, it's not about criticising each other, it's about taking things on board and sort of giving a different perspective on it. And you know, fully entitled to have your opinion. I'd much rather hear it out and, you know, have a debate and a discussion about it and learn from each other. I think that's what it's all about. And I think, so, more importantly as well, is using the science and the literature that we have rather than just going by the headlines that we see, because it's so easy to sort of read something and believe it, but unless you read sort of more into it, things are very different. Like, you'll find that with like literature papers that it may say, oh, this is a super ineffective thing, but if you look into actually all of the writing involved in that and the methodology and things like that, things are very different. So utilising that to improve treatment for anorexia is what I want to be doing, and I will be learning as I go, as I'm sure, or I hope that you guys will too. But for me, like I said, with the controversial thing, I want to look specifically more into utilising exercise, more specifically maybe resistance training is kind of what I'm leaning more towards, and its influence in recovery and how we can utilise it effectively in recovery to help people with anorexia. And like I said, it's controversial purely for the fact of, you know, I myself have done it. I've excessively used exercise as a tool to lose weight, or to control my weight, and always have that sort of negative association to my eating disorder and exercise, that relationship. But I just feel like if there is lack of understanding in regards to exercise, if you have someone that has utilised exercise in their eating disorder, and it's had a detrimental effect on their mindset and their eating disorder severity. I think it's so silly to think that they're never gonna exercise again, and that's something that's not addressed, something that's used so poignant in someone's journey. Not everyone's journey, don't get me wrong, but in this example, I mean, I used to over-exercise all the time, and for me it was like, well, how can you not expect me to exercise ever again in my life? And it's so interesting that in our society, in our government, in our recommended guidelines, there is promotion of physical activity for a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And I feel like someone who's had massive trouble with exercise dependence, it's sort of like a contradiction in itself, because you're like, well, I'm getting recommended and it's promoted in society that I should exercise for a healthy lifestyle, but how far do you go? Where are the boundaries? And if you're in that mindset like you've been before, where you utilise exercise in a negative way, how on earth can you find that balance if you're already struggling? And I think we need to have more education on that, because I had absolutely none. I've always been a sporty person. It's like moving about and exercising and doing my thing is what my life is. I enjoy being active, and that's not all associated to my eating disorder. It's who I am as a person, and I think that's another issue that we need to sort of conquer, is sort of dividing who is who. Because I think a lot of the time that when I just wanted to go out and run, sometimes it wasn't necessarily anything to do with my eating disorder, but obviously, understandably, people thought differently. And that's what I want to change. I want to get you want that enjoyment back in what you do. And so there needs to be greater education on that for sure. And I think that's something that really does need to be established. So I just want to like kind of knock this part of the process into gear. And I know for me, I feel like if I hadn't exercised throughout my recovery, I think it really helped me. And I know that sounds really controversial, as it can be very dangerous, extremely dangerous, but I truly believe that for me personally, it helped me a lot with my mentality. I use it as a stress reliever, and it is all about where your mind is too, don't get me wrong, absolutely, and this is what we're going to be talking about within this channel. But I feel like it's very important to just not be afraid to say that, because I feel like I said, on social media as well, you see so many like incredible people who have had severe eating disorders, and they've come out looking absolutely amazing and hopefully feeling absolutely amazing. And I think that's another issue, is that we don't cover up our mental well-being to promote a picture. If we're feeling crap, just say we're feeling crap. This is the only way that we can sort of help effectively move through that negative space. And that's what I want to do. I think opening up this discussion a lot more, promoting it a lot more, and just really getting into applying the knowledge that is like surrounding us, applying that scientific knowledge and seeing where we can get with that. It's going to be a trial and error thing, because I'm going to be learning as much as you guys are, but I just can't hold back with it anymore. I feel like I'm just going to go and see where it happens, and yeah, that's all we can do. And for me, I was never, in my experience of treatment, I was never actually helped with that side of things. It was very much basically focus on the food, eat the food, gain weight, and that was sort of my treatment. And sort of like the psychological side, not ideal either. But we can talk about that in another video. We're open for discussion with that too. But yeah, so utilising exercise or discussing exercise, getting just teaching people a lot more about it, and the benefits that it can have, both on the mind and on the body. Like, yes, physical components of recovery are definitely important, but that is not the only part. And unfortunately, without the other parts, that becomes relatively minor in its impact, or it reduces its impact at least that's what I believe. I think there's just a lot of irony in this disorder in regards to that. People like to treat the physical and not really the mental, yet it's like the top mental disorder with the highest mortality rate, and it just baffles me. Like, we just sort of forget that side, and unfortunately it is, you can't just have one, you need to have both. I don't believe it's done as much as it should be. So yeah, that's sort of the angle that I'm going to go at. That is what I want to achieve. So on this channel, probably experience like different types of videos. So I'll probably do like day in the life, not very interesting, but if I'm feeling a certain way, we'll talk about it, or I'll talk to the camera, hello, whatever I do. I will get a bit better and a bit more relaxed, as you'll probably find. Hair will be like the Trunchbull, happy days. But it will be like days in the life, but also looking at the scientific research, applying it, looking at statistics, talking to people who have experienced anorexia, both firsthand as well as peers, siblings, parents, friends, whoever. But also it'd be really interesting to ask people who work in treatment facilities about eating disorders and what they believe is important in recovery. I think it's so important. I think it's so important to understand that knowledge. Yeah, so there'll be like a mix of like videos that we'll be doing. So say me. Yes, we're just going to see how we go. No copious amounts of pressure, but always pressure, because that is who I am as a person. I hope this can like come to fruition and people can get on board with this. But like I said, like if there's something that you don't agree with, say it. Like, all like say what you want, but also like be considerate, because this is a place where it only comes from good intention, and I want people to be able to say what they, I can't speak. I want people to be able to like state their point of view, and have a just active, open conversation about it, and at least feel like their voice is being heard, because I feel like for so long that I just wasn't getting heard, and they just associated everything to my eating disorder, when actually I still had valid opinions that weren't stupid, because that was an issue that I definitely felt. But yeah, see where it goes. But I hope this can be of some use to some people, because I think it could be such a great and amazing change, and I'm actually quite excited to see where it goes and how many people it can help. So if you do like this and you want to follow this journey, please give it a thumbs up and follow. And yeah, we're just going to go with it, and time will tell, but definitely going to be more active about it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Haven't decided what it is yet, so that's really good. But yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you then. Bye. Why did I wave like this?